Part 2 ready. Oh God, I made a terrible decision yesterday that will possibly destroy my life. I have never considered doing something like I did, much less doing it. So how did it happen? I am not sure. I had a problem with my disposal for a few days. It was leaking badly. Alfonso usually would take care of these things, but he was out of town. I called a plumber I had never used before, but a friend recommended him. She said he was excellent in every way. I only thought about what she said once he got to my house and did the work. He had asked me to assist if he needed to have the water turned on or off while he was up under the sink. I looked away, but it was like it was magnetic. And I kept looking at it, and it grew bigger. I was talking to Matthew as he worked. He occasionally looked out from under the sink up at me. I saw a small smile form once as he looked at me, then ducked back under the sink. I looked at my clothes and realized that my shorts were baggy with wide legs, making it easy for Matthew to look up. I suddenly had a pang of guilt rush through me. I quickly ran to my bedroom. Matthew appeared at the door. "Miss, is there a problem?" he asked as he stepped into the bedroom, walking towards me. I froze, and he looked at me, took me in his arms, and kissed me softly. I instantly melted. He kissed me again, then stepped back, looking at me. "Is there something else I can help you with? It looks like you have lost your shorts." He smiled. I couldn't move. He teased as he dropped them back in the drawer and pushed the drawer closed. As I looked at Matthew, my breathing became labored. Something about him began to have a powerful effect on me, and my body began to tremble. I had not felt like this since the early days with Alfonso. I would not be able to stop myself. Matthew could do anything he wanted to me, and right this minute, I wanted him to do it all. Matthew stepped close to me again. Our eyes were locked in pure lust. I knew I was about to betray my husband, but I was now under Matthew's control and could not stop what was about to happen. Nor did I really want to. He dropped the shirt on the floor and waited for my move. He had done everything so far, but now it was my turn. The control had just shifted from Matthew to me. If I made the next move, I would be committing suicide to my marriage and my life with Alfonso. "Oh my God!" I exclaimed as I now understood what my friend meant when she said that Matthew was excellent in every way. I knew this was when truth and betrayal were meshed together into one split second. I looked up at Matthew, and he smiled. "Please suck it, Elaine, you know you want to." I did his bidding. Matthew moaned as my tongue slithered along the underside. Teasing. Oh God, we slept again. Matthew woke me and wanted to go again, so we did, and it went on like that all night. I finally slept at about 4 a.m. I awoke to pee, and the guilt returned, not letting me sleep again. As I returned to bed, I saw it was almost 6 a.m. Matthew stirred and pulled me to him. I left Matthew lying in bed, breathing hard. I slipped on Matthew's work shirt, smelling him on it. I went to the kitchen to make coffee. I had to become me again, Alfonso's loving yet no longer loyal wife. The thought of that made me incredibly sad. How could I have cheated on my loving husband? I walked to the kitchen and made coffee, getting out 2 cups and a plate of biscuits as a snack. I heard Matthew shuffle into the room. He pulled me to him. Suddenly, all hell broke loose. There was gunfire, and the 2 coffee cups exploded, splashing scalding hot coffee all over Matthew and me. I screamed, with no words, just noise. Then there was another shot, and suddenly Matthew flew up against the counter and cabinets, crumbling to the floor, screaming in pain. I looked across the room from where the shots had come from. Standing there with a gun in hand was Alfonso. "Oh God, Alfonso, what are you doing here?" Alfonso was supposed to be away another night, yet he stood holding his gun. He had shot the coffee cups and Matthew. Oh God, had he killed him? Oh my God, I thought, I am dead. Alfonso might as well shoot me dead where I stand. Alfonso walked to Matthew and stood over him, pointing the gun at him. Then Alfonso barked instructions at me. I stood frozen in fear, not speaking as I had been instructed. I was too afraid to cry now, paralyzed. wondering what was coming next. Alfonso was talking loudly to Matthew, pointing the gun at him. My brain was scrambled, and I could not understand what he said. Suddenly, I had to pee very badly, and I could not move. I was dancing around, trying to hold my water. Oh God, I had to pee, or I would go on myself. Alfonso ignored me, continuing to talk loudly to Matthew as he lay on the floor. I was dancing around now, ready to pee any second. Alfonso asked Matthew some questions, directing the answers to me. I was pissed when Matthew answered. I was so angry with myself for letting this happen. Then things got bad. Matthew fainted again. I was sitting there, helpless to do anything. I just watched Alfonso take out his revenge on Matthew. I was afraid. What would Alfonso do to me if he did these things to Matthew? I was so afraid of what was going to happen now. Then Alfonso turned to me. The look on his face was frightening. He was so angry. I had never seen him look this way, but I had never done what I did, so we were both in unfamiliar territory. I was in so much trouble. He demanded I clean up the mess of pee, coffee, and shattered coffee cups all over the kitchen floor. God, what had I done? How could I have let this happen? Was it me? Was I that weak a person? I love my husband so much. I would never cheat on him, yet I had cheated on him and was caught. Alfonso pulled Matthew away and began to attend to his wounds. He called me to see them. I was shocked. I felt horrible about all of this. I was a total mess now. My future looked very bleak. I gathered myself and went back to cleaning the kitchen mess. Alfonso dressed Matthew and took him outside to his truck. He was gone a while, then came back into the house, standing at the kitchen door, staring at me with mixed anger and disgust. I could not look at him. I felt so ashamed of what I had allowed to happen and felt horrible at the results and what happened to Matthew. Alfonso walked into the garage, leaving me to finish cleaning the floor. Once finished, cleaning all of Matthew out of me, I prayed that Alfonso would talk to me and let me try to explain how it started. I knew that would not fix this mess I had created, but I had to try. I dressed in jeans and a t-shirt. I did not see or hear a word from my husband for the rest of the day. With Matthew gone, I walked into the house and stopped at the kitchen door, silently watching my wife cleaning up the huge mess she had caused. She created an even bigger mess between us and had to clean it up. As my wife was working, she would not look at me. I hoped that her shame was overpowering her. And she felt horrible. I knew that after she saw what I had done to Matthew, she feared what I had in store for her. I wanted that fear to fester inside her, driving her crazy. I would never physically harm her in any way. Matthew also got what he deserved, and my wife will, but psychologically. It might be a few days before I speak to her again, and her not knowing her fate would worry her. I said nothing or made no move toward her in any way. It was like she was invisible to me. I walked out to my workshop. I cleaned my Glock before returning it securely to my gun safe. I opened the garage door and pulled my truck inside. I took out my laptop and other cases, sitting them at the kitchen door. I had yet to decide whether to stay or leave for a day or two. If I left, it would serve my wife right and worry her even more. I will decide later. It might have been even more painful for her if I stayed home, and I totally ignored her as if she didn't exist. I was leaning in that direction. She needed to feel what it might be like if I were gone and not ever here again. That pain will be hard on her. I googled Matthew Jacobs again. I read all about him and read the references listed. He seemed to be a competent plumber with a good following. As I read the reviews, I saw a few with first names and the first letter of their last name that I recognized. I decided to inquire about Matthew's work later this morning. Then, I searched for divorce law in our state. As I expected, the husband gets the shaft, except for infidelity. Infidelity is a misdemeanor crime in our state, so if I wanted to have both Matthew and my wife arrested, I could do so. I can have some fun with that. The law was straightforward. for uncontested adultery, I could be free in 90 days. Any other divorce took a year. There had to be proof of adultery or admission of guilt in open court. I knew that would never happen. I walked back into the house and made coffee. I did not see or hear my wife and made no effort to find her. I filled my travel cup and went back to the workshop. I thought about what I wanted to do. There had never been any time in our 5 years when I thought we were in trouble or even had a significant argument. Our life was good, almost perfect. As I said before, we were ready to start building a family, and this weekend would be the first serious discussion on how many and when we would begin to. We were ready. I was exhausted now, having not slept for almost 30 hours. I broke out a bedroll and cot, setting it up in my workshop. I went outside to relieve myself, returned, and locked the door. With the light off, it was pitch black, so I quickly fell into a deep sleep. My dreams were ugly. After some time, I sat straight up and heard a light knock on the door. Then, a whisper. "Al, are you okay?" I lay back and said nothing. My dreams upset me, and I knew I could no longer let this linger. I stood and opened the door. I looked down at my wife, standing with her head lowered and looking at the floor. "Wife, what do you want?" I knew she hated me calling her by anything other than her name, so calling her wife would grate on her. She looked up at my middle, not raising her eyes to mine. "I want to talk to you and explain what I can about what happened." She lowered her face again, and I saw tears dripping on the floor. I made a snap decision, closed the door, and locked it again. Elaine needed to feel real pain, and my rejection of her now closing the door and locking it in her face would devastate her. I heard a deep sobbing moan, then a rustling outside the door. My wife had crumbled to the floor sobbing. I felt terrible for her, but she did this to herself, so she had to deal with her pain until I was ready to relieve it. I was not divorcing Elaine, but she would learn a powerful lesson about her self-control and my tolerance. She has seen my violent side and will soon feel my retribution for her misdeed. But on my timeline, not hers, I lay back down and was able to fall asleep again. After some time, I awoke. My body was hungry, not having eaten in many hours. I turned on the light. It was mid-afternoon, and my belly was empty. I needed to eat and write a note to my wife, capturing the fresh thoughts in my head. I pulled out a pad and wrote the note. I folded it, and I opened the door. Laying curled up on the concrete floor asleep was my wife. A small puddle of tears was on the floor under her face that was resting on her forearm. I stepped down and around my wife, walking quietly inside, taking in my bags, and emptying them in the laundry room. I went to the kitchen and made breakfast of eggs, bacon, toast, and grits. I am not a quiet cook, so at some point, my wife heard me and entered the kitchen. She sat on a stool at the island and saw the note I had written to her. She picked up the paper, unfolded it, and read, "Wife, I don't think you deserve this salutation at this point, but as of this moment, you are still my wife." I do use the term loosely because most loving wives who deserve that title do not actively cheat on their husbands, and if they do, they lose the right to that title. I am undecided on that point and the way I will choose. That decision is mostly up to you now. I know what you have done, having heard it over and over last night as you allowed your body and mind to be seduced again and again, not by me but by yet another man. You were his completely. The one saving grace is that you never humiliated me with words, demeaning me with your lover. I am sure that you were thinking those things but had the small amount of decency not to vocalize them to him, as things stand right now. Your failure to be able to resist this man gives me pause to wonder if this will happen over and over in the future. You have made me wonder if I can trust you to bring our babies into this world and be there for them and me every day of their lives. Before last night, I would have never considered asking those questions, but now I have to ask you, in light of what you have done, if I am wrong in having those doubts. I don't think so, wife, the ball is in your court. You must convince me that you deserve to be my wife, that you will permanently, from this day forward, forsake all others, and that 4 or 5 years from now, I will not look back and say, well, she did it again. What a fool I was, there will also be a few new rules, and you will sign a postnuptial agreement, the terms of which you will not like. It is a mandatory requirement of our continued marriage. You also need to know that adultery is a crime in this state, and I could have both you and your lover arrested and taken to public court and found guilty. Your reputation would be destroyed, and you would probably lose your job and many friends. It was a severe crime against me and the state, Elaine. Not only do I have to decide if I want to gamble that you will be able to abide by the commitment you will make to me again, but do I want to remain married to a criminal, Elaine? It is now your turn. Tell me all of it, even the parts that I heard. Be truthful. You have one chance, or we will be through. Your loving but very hurt husband, Alfonso. As I cooked, I heard my wife sobbing as she read the note over a few times. I finished cooking my breakfast and placed the plate at my place on the kitchen table. I sat and began to eat. I could be a better cook, but I cooked a good breakfast, which tasted especially good at 3:35 p.m. I did not look at my wife. She was rereading the note for the umpteenth time. She stood and walked down the hall toward our bedroom. I heard the door close, and suddenly, a loud scream erupted, then a second and third. I continued to eat, finishing my breakfast and a second cup of coffee. I felt better physically, but my mental state was still a mess. I wondered what my wife was doing in the bedroom. I cleaned up the kitchen and loaded the dishwasher with the dirty dishes. I went to the laundry room, sorted my work clothes, and put them in the washer separately. I put in the heavy-duty detergent and turned on the washer. I returned to the kitchen, and my wife sat on a stool at the island. It had been about 30 minutes since she walked out, and she was sitting there with an overnight bag at her feet and a note in front of her. She looked at me and handed me the note without a word. She leaned down and picked up her bag and purse. She looked at me and walked toward the garage door. Stop, Elaine stopped but did not move. I read the note. Al, I do not know what to say. I have made a terrible mistake that I did not think I could. I am so sorry for what I have done. I am mortally ashamed for cheating on you. I thought I was that woman who could never do that in 10,000 years, but I am not the woman I thought I was or that you thought I was when we married. I don't deserve to be your wife and the mother of your children. That is something I have to think extremely hard about as you do. I cannot make that decision while we are in the same house together. I must seek silence and meditation to sort through finding the woman I am now and the woman I want to be in the future. It is strictly about who I am and whether I belong married to you. I have to be able to look at myself in the mirror every day and say honestly, yes, I deserve to be your wife, and yes, I can abide by the commitments that we have made to each other that I have now violated. To that end, I will be leaving now for some time to sort out who I am and whether I am worthy of being your wife. I know you are the man I want. I have known that since we first met, but in light of yesterday and last night, I have to understand how and why that happened and if it is what I want or if you and our babies are what I want. Give me time, Al, give me time. I will be at my mother's if you want to talk to me. But I will not be ready for a few days. I am so sorry for what I have done. There are no words in my heart to truly express the sadness I feel for how badly I have hurt you. I feel horrible and deserve anything that you will do or say to me. Al, I love you and always will, regardless of how this goes. Please know that you are my only man and that what happened was a freak event that could never happen again. Give me a few days, and we can talk. I love you more than life, Elaine. I reread the note and looked at her back. Elaine, look at me. She slowly turned, tears rolling down her cheeks, and she took a deep breath. How did we get here? I asked. What happened? Elaine looked at me with profound sadness on her face. I don't know, baby, which is what I have to figure out. It is on me, not you. You have done nothing wrong. You are a perfect husband, but somehow, I am no longer the perfect wife. That is what I have to figure out. I am meeting with my mom's therapist tonight, which may help. This was just one significant lapse in judgment that we could put behind us and move on if that is what we want. I did this to you and us. It is my fault. I have to come to terms with it myself, then you and I can deal with it however we do. I need a few days, and we can talk. I love you, Alfonso, more than anything. I want to have your babies and a loving family, living every breath of my life with you, but I have to be worthy of your love for me. And today, I do not feel worthy. Elaine stopped there. She walked to me, gave me a soft kiss, turned, and walked into the garage. I heard the garage door open, and her SUV pulled out and drove off. After I read Alfonso's note, it confirmed to me that he loved me. Seeing him stand up to Matthew, destroying him the way he did, made me proud of Al, but it also crystallized to me that I was at fault. It also confirmed that I was not the woman I thought I was or that Al believed I was. That woman could never have allowed Matthew to happen. I had to leave to get help to sort through what I did and understand who I am. I just did the hardest thing I have ever had to do. I walked away from my loving husband, unable to talk to him about what I had done, cheating on him with another man. Not just once but all night. All the while, he was just down the hall in our kitchen. That had to be horrible for him. Oh God, what is wrong with me? I went to my bedroom and packed a bag with enough clothes for a few days. I called my mom and told her I needed help, and she told me to come to her. I told her I needed to see Dr. Wilson and asked if she could call her for me. I stripped the bed of the stained sheets. I balled up and tied them and the towels Matthew used. I pushed them out the window so Al would never see those sheets or towels again. I remade the bed and put out clean towels. I cleaned up any other evidence and made the room pristine. This was Alfonso's bedroom and mine again if we worked through this. I sat and wrote a note to Al explaining what I was about to do. It was so hard, but I saw it as the only way. I gathered my things and settled myself. I walked back into the kitchen. I heard Al in the laundry room. I placed the note on the counter, and I waited for Al to come back in. He returned to the room, saw my overnight bag, and walked past me to the other side of the island. I looked at Al and pushed my note across to him. I waited only a few seconds, then stood, picked up my bag, and walked toward the door. He stopped me by asking me 2 questions that I could not answer. I did explain more about my leaving and why it was necessary. Then I walked back and kissed him on the cheek. I walked out and drove off to my mom's. Boy, what a terrible ending to a week. I can't imagine a worse ending. Yesterday, I was looking forward to a fun and exciting weekend with Elaine, where we talked about making babies and then we would practice making a few. Then, practice a little more. But that was all kaput now. I was now sitting here thinking about the future of our marriage. My life and our lives are up in the air all because of a plumber, Matthew Jacob. I pulled out the list of 4 names I recognized. One was a friend of Elaine's, Constance. So I called her house first. Hello, Constance. Yes, she answered. Great, this is Al Freeze, Elaine's husband. Oh, hi, how are you and Elaine? I am doing fine. I hope you are. Yes, thank you, good. Constance, I am calling because we had a plumber over yesterday, Matthew Jacob, Jacob Plumbing. You recommended him to Elaine, is that right? Yes, Al, I did recommend him. Did he do a decent job? Constance asked. Yes, he was here and did an okay job. I was calling to see if there were any problems with him when he worked for you. There was a pause, and then Constance said, well, he is a little flirty sometimes. Yes, he was very forward. Well, I have a hard question to ask. But Constance, did he put a move on you, seduce you, did you too? Well, there was a more extended silence this time. I waited. Constance, you are single, right, so it's okay. I want to know if he put a move on you. You can tell me anything you want, and I promise it will be in complete confidence. There was still silence. Then Constance said, Al, yes, he has me every 2 weeks for over a year now. I know he is a lot of other women, and I am single now because of Matthew. David caught us, and he divorced me because of Matthew. I am one of the women who helps keep the plumber's pipes cleaned out. She laughed. Al, so did something happen between Matthew and Elaine? God. I hope he didn't mess you guys up. I would feel responsible since I recommended him on Wednesday. Oh no, something did happen, or you wouldn't have called me. Shit, Al, I am so sorry. Constance said, we are working through it, but you can help. That would be very helpful. Yes, I know several, and two that have also gotten divorced because of him, Constance told me. That would be great. I will give you my email address, so please send me their names, numbers, and emails if you have them, I said, providing Constance with my email address. Thanks, Constance, you have been very helpful. Oh, by the way, was Matthew supposed to visit you soon? Yes, one day next week. Well, Constance, I am sorry, but Matthew had a little accident. He is probably having a tough time sitting down as well. Oh my, Al, what did you do? She asked. Matthew fell. I snickered. Well, he deserved it, I am sure. Dave was going to kill him, but he dumped me instead and went off with a salesgirl at his company. I don't miss Dave, but I will miss Matthew for a while now. Okay, well, thank you for the info, Constance. I'll be in touch. I hung up. I received the email a while later and called the other women. Matthew definitely had the pattern of a serial predator. I called a friend who is a social media specialist. I set an appointment for Monday, and she would come to my home office. I wanted to find a way to destroy Matthew on social media without being detected. Celia would know how to do that. Later in the evening, I sent a text to Elaine. My text: Hi, I hope you are okay. How did your meeting with the therapist go? I hope it helped. I waited and waited for a response. An hour went by, and nothing. I decided I had messaged Elaine too soon. Later, I received a call from Edie, Elaine's mom. Hi, Mom, I opened. Hey Al, how are you? It's tough, Mom. I never thought I would have this kind of problem. I was shocked when Elaine told me the whole story. I couldn't believe my little girl could be so stupid. Edie said, Yes, Edie. But this man is a serial predator who has finally met his match. Elaine may not have been able to resist him in any situation. I have spoken with several other women that he has seduced, and several of them are divorced because of him. It is more about him than about them. I don't want Elaine to be too hard on herself. I hope your therapist can show her that. Elaine is not Lily White in this mess, but it was all about Matthew from the start. She could not stop him, he owned her. Al, Elaine is devastated. She thinks that she has let you down and hurt you so badly that she doesn't deserve to be your wife. She seemed a little more upbeat after her first meeting with Dr. Wilson. It went well. She is seeing her again tomorrow afternoon. Edie explained. I thanked Edie for her call and update. I wanted to give Elaine time to figure herself out, and then we would work on ourselves. I was hungry again, so I dressed and went to the gin mill down the road. They have a good chef there who makes a great pork chop dinner. Once I had eaten and had a few drinks, I relaxed, so I drove around for a while, letting the cool air blow on my face and clearing my head. I needed to sleep again, so I went home. I showered and crawled between the clean sheets Elaine had put on the bed. She was trying, I knew that. I love her so much and need her to be okay. I pray that she will be. As I lay between the sheets, I realized how lonely I was. I turned on my side and pulled Elaine's pillow to me, smelling her scent, lingering with the freshness. It helped me relax so I could finally fall asleep. Sometimes, like now, exhaustion can be a friend. As sleep overtook me, I thought, tomorrow is another day. I had a fitful night. My mom helped me get to sleep. She held me, and we talked about life and how things always work out for the best. She reconfirmed what Dr. Wilson had said: we all make mistakes. Some of them are mistakes we make consciously, and some are mistakes we make that are made subconsciously and are heavily influenced by others. When we realize what we have done and its impact, we react by either accepting what we have done and the ramifications of the mistake, or we may decide to blow it off, not caring about the effect the mistake has on everyone involved. The third thing that can happen is we become so devastated by the mistake and the fact that we could have ever been involved that we cannot recover, which ruins our life. My mistake has driven me into a depressed state as I have become devastated doubting my self-worth and me as my husband's wife. Dr. Wilson was able to help me understand that it was not a moral weakness or character flaw that allowed me to participate but more of the natural animal chemistry that happened. She explained that it was the perfect scenario. It was perpetrated by a man who came into my home and violated my body because he wanted to. I thought about the doctor's assessment, which made sense to me. My husband has always been able to satisfy my needs, but he was away, and an unknown predator was allowed inside my house. The doctor had me think back over my short adult life, asking if, since Alfonso and I got together or before, I had ever had feelings with anyone similar to those I had with Matthew. No, never before had I been in a situation like yesterday. Yes, I had been with other men before Al, and I was attracted to many men, but I never felt the animal magnetism, the pull, and the power I felt from Matthew, as I had explained to Dr. Wilson. When Matthew's and my body meshed together, it was like we were one. I sighed as I lay there. My session with Dr. Wilson today will be the answer. I was feeling better and thought it was time to message Afonso. My text: "Good morning, my sweet baby. I want to say I am so sorry for what has happened, but at the same time, I am also glad that it happened. I know that may sound strange, but I think I can explain it to you so that it makes sense. I hope your sleep was as good as mine was. The doctor helped me greatly, and my session with her today will give me the answers and work steps needed for our future." Yes, I said our future, assuming that you want us to have a future. I love you, Alfonso Freeze, and want to make many little freezes with you. Have a good day and be ready for me when I come home to you tonight. I will shower you with love and kisses and reward you much more. See you later, my love. I lay back, wondering what Al's response is or if there will be one. There was a light knock on the door, and my mom opened the door a crack, looking in. I glanced at my phone. It was 7:24 a.m. "Good morning, sweetie. May I come in?" Mom whispered, "Sure," and Mom entered with 2 cups of coffee. God, I love her so much. I didn't cover up, I just moved up, leaning against the headboard. I looked at my mom. God. Dad was the love of Mom's life, as Alfonso is for me. When Dad died, Mom was devastated, as we all were. Still, she was a resilient woman and took over running his insurance agency, buried herself into it, and made it an even more successful business. With the legal settlement, she was set for life financially, so with most of the money, Mom set up a charitable trust to help families and children, the victims of drunk drivers. Mom cuddled up to me with a smile. I sipped my coffee. Yes, this is the new me. My mom sat up, "Hold this," and handed me her coffee. Mom stood up on the bed and peeled off her Daytona shirt. I was shocked. I gawked at her incredible body. Oh my, Mom was beautiful. Her body was firm and shapely. My God, she looked amazing. I had not spoken as I sat in awe. I finally swallowed when she asked, "Well, what do you think of this old body?" I looked into her eyes and teased her. "Woman, I think I need to get a man over here to take care of you." Mom scoffed at me and dropped to the bed. She showed a sly smile and leaned back beside me. We drank our coffee, said nothing, just enjoying being together. My phone buzzed, waking me. I reached for it and saw it was 7:18 a.m. I slept well for over 8 hours. I had a text from Elaine that excited me. Maybe she is making progress in her self-awareness journey. I opened it and read Elaine's text: "Good morning, my sweet man. I want to say I am so sorry for what has happened, but at the same time, I am also glad that it happened. That may sound strange, but I think I can explain it to you so that it makes sense." There was more, so I finished it and was excited that she had progressed so fast. Dr. Wilson must have bonded with her and helped her solve her issues. I was so happy that Elaine was coming home, and we could move past this debacle and on to the life we had planned. Now that I knew the plan, I needed to make things memorable for tonight. I got up and made a list of things I needed to do to prepare. I sent a response to Elaine, my text: "Oh baby, I am so happy that you are doing well and feel you can come home. And we can get past this and move on with our life together. I will be ready for you. What time will you be here? A quick response came, Elaine's text, "Oh Al, I am so glad you feel that way. I will see the doctor at 3 p.m. for an hour and come straight from there. I am so happy to be coming home to you. I have something amusing about my mom to tell you. You will laugh hard. Love you, baby, see you later, and have a wonderful day." I responded with a few emojis, the last being an eggplant, a subtle message of lust. I got busy cleaning up, changing the sheets to the special silk ones I bought a while ago. I made the bed, laid back the covers, and looked up online how to make a towel swan. I spent the rest of the day shopping and preparing for our dinner. It was special, so we would have fillets wrapped in bacon and twice-baked potatoes. I cheated on those, buying them ready to cook. I made a lettuce wedge salad with crushed tomatoes, onion, and blue cheese dressing. This was one of Elaine's favorite meals I made just for her. Once I had it all ready, I showered and watched a baseball game. I thought over how this would go tonight. All the things I told Elaine that would happen would be happening. I had been online and prepared a post-nuptial agreement that Elaine would have to sign. The harsh terms would punish her severely if she ever strayed again. She would get only what was hers on the day she signed the agreement. The details were spelled out clearly, with no variance. It was very harsh, but that will not happen until she is tested clean for any STD that Matthew may have left with her. That will be hard on her. She will never have considered that. I would tell Elaine all about the other women and their husbands I have talked to about their experiences with Matthew and the aftermath for each of them. Their stories were sad, and the same could have quickly happened to Elaine and me. Though tonight would be a homecoming, it would not